Imagine you want to be alone. Sing in the shower, everyone will hear. Go to the toilet in peace, not happening. Sleep in silence, impossible. Do anything at all, you will disturb the people around you. And it is like that all the time. Around you are your family, children, elders, hunters, women, people from your tribe, and many others who spend their whole lives sleeping, eating, arguing, laughing, and crying right next to you. You just want to go somewhere where nobody sees you, nobody hears you, nobody asks why you are quiet, who you are talking to, or where you went. Now imagine that you do not have that chance at all. No room of your own, no door, no walls, no bathroom, no bedroom, not even a small corner you can call yours. You wake up, they are nearby. You eat, they are nearby. You argue, they hear it. You want to talk to someone quietly, they are still nearby. You want love, they are also somewhere 2 steps away. And here is the main question. How did ancient people hide their private life at all? How did they meet each other? How did they argue? How did they go to the toilet? How did they make love? How did they hide secrets? And the strangest question is this: did they even need private life the way we understand it? Because for us, privacy feels normal. You close a door and you are alone. You put on headphones and you are in your own world. You go to your room and nobody bothers you. But for most of human history, that world did not exist. For tens of thousands of years, people lived in small groups, not in houses with rooms, not in apartments, not in villages with fences. They lived in open camps, caves, simple shelters, and temporary settlements. Usually, there were about 15 to 50 people nearby. They were relatives, friends, children, elders, hunters, gatherers. Everyone knew each other. Everyone depended on each other. And almost everything happened in front of everyone. You could not simply disappear behind a door because there was no door. You could not say, "I'm going to my place," because my place as a separate space simply did not exist. You could not close yourself in a bedroom because there was no bedroom either. Life was shared. People ate together, sat around the fire together, slept together, kept warm together, watched children together, feared the night together, listened to the forest together, survived hunger, cold, illness, and predator attacks together. Today, that sounds like a nightmare to us. But for ancient people, it was normal. In fact, being alone back then was not a luxury. It was danger. One person in the ancient world was weak. One person could get lost. One person could freeze. One person could become prey. One person could get sick, fall, break a leg, and simply never return. So being close to others was not an inconvenience. It was protection. The group was home. The group was a wall. The group was an alarm system. The group was insurance against death. But humans were still humans. Even if there were always other people around, a person still sometimes wanted to hide something personal, to talk without extra ears, to spend time with someone they loved, to go to the toilet, to cry, to argue, to share a secret, to do something not meant for other people's eyes. And since there were no real walls, ancient people created other walls, invisible ones. The first wall was darkness. Night was dangerous, but it gave something that daytime could not. It hid details. Near the fire, faces were visible, but once a person moved a little farther away, they disappeared into shadow. You did not have to go far. Sometimes walking a few dozen steps away from the camp was enough for people to barely see you. To us, this may sound funny, but in a world without lamps, flashlights, and screens, darkness was a real curtain. If a couple wanted to be together, they could choose a moment when the others were sleeping or pretending to sleep. They could move a little to the side, behind a rock, behind bushes, closer to the edge of the camp. Not too far because going too far was dangerous, but far enough to get at least a little personal space. This was not privacy in the modern sense. This was ancient privacy, not nobody knows about us, but everyone understands, yet nobody looks. And this was the second important wall, silent agreement. In a small group, people could not help noticing each other, but they could pretend not to notice. This is very important. Imagine you are sleeping in a small tent with friends. There is little space. Everyone is close. Someone needs to change clothes. What do? You do not look. You turn away. You give the person space, even if there is no real space. It worked almost the same way for ancient people. If someone walked away from the camp, others did not follow. If a couple disappeared into the dark, nobody shouted about it. If a person wanted to be alone, others could understand it without words. If someone was doing something personal, the group often simply ignored it. That does not mean nobody knew anything. In a small tribe, everyone understood everything perfectly, but there is a big difference between knowing and discussing. Ancient people could see many things, but they did not turn everything into conversation. That is how private life appeared without doors, not through locks, but through rules of behavior. Do not look, do not ask, do not discuss, do not interfere, pretend you did not notice. To us, this may seem strange, but we still do the same thing. In a public restroom, you know there are people nearby. They also know you are there. Everyone hears sounds. Everyone understands what is happening, but nobody acts like it is an open event. Everyone pretends there are invisible walls between them. That is how ancient people lived, almost all the time. There were almost no physical walls, but there were social walls. This was especially true for going to the toilet. Yes, people rarely talk about this, but ancient people also had to relieve themselves. They had no toilets, doors, stalls, or paper. Usually, a person simply walked away from the place where people ate and slept, preferably downwind, so the smell would not go into the camp. Sometimes, there may have been regular places where everyone went, not because it was comfortable, but because it was reasonable. It helped keep the camp cleaner. It reduced the smell. It lowered the risk of disease. And it gave a person at least a little private space, but was it completely private? No. Someone could see where you went. Someone could guess why. But again, nobody was supposed to follow you and watch. In the ancient world, privacy often did not mean that nobody could see you. It meant that others pretended not to see you. The same applied to sleep. Today, we are used to having a separate bed. Many people want a separate room. Children get their own bedrooms. Adults close the door. Even in one family, everyone can have their own space. For an ancient person, that would have seemed strange. People slept close to each other, very close. First, it was warmer. At night, the temperature dropped. The wind stole heat. The fire could weaken. If people lay close together, they warmed each other. Second, it was safer. If someone woke up from a strange sound, they could wake the others. If an animal came close to the camp, the group reacted faster. If a child cried, adults were nearby. Third, there was often very little space. A shelter could be small. A cave could be tight. A hut might barely protect people from the wind, so people did not choose comfort.
If you will watch it this far, please give it a like.
They chose survival. You could sleep next to your parents, children, brothers, sisters, and other members of the group. Someone turned over. Someone snored. Someone got up to tend the fire. Someone whispered. Someone cried. Someone held a child. All of this was part of nightlife. And again, the question appears, how did people create families and relationships? The answer is simple. They found moments, not separate rooms, not romantic bedrooms, moments, night, darkness, a walk for water, gathering firewood, searching for plants, watching the fire, a short walk to the edge of camp, a place behind a rock, a part of the forest where the camp could be heard but people could not be seen. Private life was not a permanent space. It was a small window in time. Today we think, I need my own place. Back then a person thought differently. I need the right moment. But the most important thing is that ancient people may not have suffered from the lack of privacy the way we would, because they felt themselves in the world differently. We grew up in a society where a person is a separate individual. You have your own desires, your own boundaries, your own things, your own messages, your own rooms, your own secrets. But in an ancient group, a person was first of all part of the tribe. Their life was woven into the lives of others. Who are you? You are a son, a father, a mother, a hunter, a gatherer, an elder, a tracker, a storyteller, a protector, the one who can repair spears, the one who knows plants, the one who remembers the path to water. Identity was not built around the question, what am I like as a separate person, but around the question, what is my place among people? That is why being alone could feel not like rest, but like anxiety. If you are alone, it means there is no one nearby to protect you. If you are alone, no one will hear your scream. If you are alone, no one will share food with you. If you are alone, you disappear from the network that keeps you alive. Today, we often get tired of people and dream of shutting everyone out. Ancient people may have feared the opposite, being completely alone. But that does not mean they had no secrets. Secrets have always existed. Someone could hide resentment. Someone could secretly love a person they were not supposed to love. Someone could hide food. Someone could be afraid to admit a mistake. Someone could know a dangerous place and not talk about it right away. Someone could feel envy. Someone could betray. Someone could lie. Humans did not become human only after houses appeared. All our feelings existed long ago: jealousy, shame, desire, fear, love, guilt, pride, mystery. It was just much harder to hide all of it. In a small group, the face gives away a lot. If you are angry, people see it. If you are afraid, people hear it. If you often go away with the same person, people notice. If you lie, people know you too well to believe you easily. In a world without private rooms, the main enemy of secrets is not surveillance. The main enemy of secrets is closeness. Everyone knows how you walk, how you speak, how you eat, how you look, how you stay silent, and that makes hiding the truth very difficult. But this is exactly why ancient people learned not only to hide things, but also to make agreements. A group needed rules: who could be with whom, who was responsible for whom, who shared food, who cared for children, who had the right to be angry, who had to step back, who crossed a boundary. Without rules, a small group would quickly fall apart, and in the ancient world, the collapse of a group could mean death. That is why private life was not only a matter between two people, it affected everyone. If a couple argued, it could affect the camp. If someone became jealous, it could create conflict. If someone broke the rules, it could destroy trust. If a man and a woman formed a bond, it affected children, food, hunting, family ties, and the future of the group. Today we say, that is my private business. In the ancient world, private things were rarely completely private, because each person's life was tied to everyone else's life. When people began farming, everything started to change. Around 10,000 years ago, some groups stopped moving all the time and began living in one place. Permanent homes appeared, walls appeared, then doors, then separate areas inside the home. But even then, privacy did not appear right away. Most people still lived in tight spaces. A whole family could sleep in one house, sometimes together with animals. There could be only one room. Everything happened nearby: eating, sleeping, working, talking, childbirth, illness, death. Separate bedrooms remained a luxury for a long time. Ordinary people lived for centuries in a way that would make a modern person feel trapped in a crowd. Even in a medieval village, personal space was limited. People slept in one room. Children slept near adults. Guests could sleep there too. Servants slept not far from their masters. Animals could live under the same roof. Only much later, when homes became larger, when life became wealthier, when people had more belongings and more personal rights, did privacy begin to look like what we know today? Your own room, your own bed, your own door, your own wardrobe, your own letters, your own thoughts, your own world. And there is a strange irony here. Ancient people were almost never alone, but they were often protected by the group. We can be alone as much as we want, but we often feel lonely. We got doors, walls, passwords, headphones, personal accounts, private rooms, and personal space. But along with that, we lost the constant feeling of a shoulder nearby that followed humans through most of history. Ancient people had almost no privacy, but they were rarely completely cut off from others. Modern people have privacy, but sometimes no closeness. So how did ancient people hide their private life? They did not hide it the way we do. They used darkness. They used distance. They used the right moment. They used silent rules. They turned away. They pretended not to notice. They respected invisible boundaries, even when real walls did not exist. And most importantly, they understood themselves differently. For them, life was not a private room. It was a shared fire. You could step into the shadows, but you still remained part of the circle. You could have a secret, but you still belonged to the group. You could seek solitude, but being alone for too long was dangerous. Maybe that is why the question of ancient privacy feels so powerful to us today. It shows how much we have changed. Once, a person feared being alone in the dark. Now, a person closes the door just to finally be alone. Once, walls were a dream. Now everyone has walls, but many still do not have enough warmth. Ancient people did not have private life in our sense, but they had something we often try to get back: the constant presence of others, a feeling of belonging, and the certainty that if you heard a strange sound in the darkness at night, you would not wake up alone. And maybe the real price of privacy is that, along with doors, we received not only freedom, we received loneliness. Conclusion: value both connection with the people around you and the chance to be alone. Both are important.
Now's the time to subscribe to the channel